How's the sales tax? What do you usually do with the sales tax? After the break, I'm going to give you more examples of this kind of thing. But here's the kicker. We're going to do some percent increase problems. And those, you add it to the total. They're like sales taxes is your most common example, but there's lots of other examples. And then we're going to do some percent decrease problems, which are a whole lot like a sale. And what do you do in the percent decrease problem? Subtract it. That's the theme of this whole chapter. The applications, for the most part, don't think it happens on every single one of them. You gotta think it through, but for the most part, you take it and add it on, or subtract it when you're done. And that's what this chapter is about. And like you said, for this one, and you've seen it before at the bottom of anything you purchase in Washington, they have a original sales tax total kind of down at the bottom of the receipt. And this one, even though it's in the calculator section, it's good to practice every once in a while. I think I get 59.17 because it was money. A lot of the questions in this chapter are about money. I rounded to the nearest hundred. So with that in mind, you can go ahead and take a break. I got a bunch of stuff to hand back that'll be on your desk when you get back, and then go ahead and head back to 110. And I think the percent's going to go pretty quick. Where does the percent go? Above the 100. And by the way, it never matters which side you put it on. Just that the percent goes with the 100. Does the book usually put it over there? Probably. So we got to decide if we're taking 16.5% of 500 or 16.5% of something is 500. Is the 500 the is or the of? This will help. They want you to memorize it. The 500 is the of. So what they do in the book, I don't know if it's helpful. It's certainly different than the old book. In the book, they write down for each kind of application the way it would look. Commission is percent of base. They're telling you that the sale becomes a base. And for each of these, they give you tons of examples in this section. And for each of them, they make a little formula. All right, I wouldn't personally make the formula. I just ask myself, is it the of or the is, or the total or the part? So maybe not helpful. I don't know, but it's in there. But here you multiply and then divide by 100, and you ask yourself if the question's answer makes sense. Would it make sense to sell something for $500 and walk home with $82.50 after the sale? Feels about right. Like I said, it's a good commission rate. It's not everybody would get that commission rate. Most people would be pretty happy. So let's run through example 5 too. I'm purposely doing the ones out of the book so I don't have to write down every word from the application. Alright, so example 5, we had a commission of 48. Of 448. And the diamond that somebody bought was 5,600. And it asks us to figure out their commission. And there's where the vocabulary comes in. We're looking for the percent. Even though nowhere on there does it say we're looking for the percent. See, there is a vocabulary issue of knowing that commission is the percentage that a salesperson makes. And if you don't know that vocabulary word, this would be a really hard problem to answer. Let's see. It's just for this reason. I'm only going to show you this way. I think you were right, but I'm only going to show you using the proportion, just to be standard. And what I don't know is the percent. I'm pretty clear personally which is the part and which is the total on this one. So they took home part of the total sale. Okay. Or with the words is and of. Commission is the rate of the sale is the little formula they gave on the previous page I just projected. So that would have been a way to say is over of. Of is the sale. I don't know. And then type this in your calculator. Yeah. And now also try typing it in this way, Melita. So take the 100 times 448 divided by 5,600. And you don't need to move the decimal on it. Just to be clear, on this route, you don't need to move the decimal because it's already built in. Yeah. Can we agree? 8%? Okay. No adding or subtracting, but it is a percent problem. It's a percentage of the total. And the
8%, right?
Yeah.
You said 8.
What?
You said 8.
What I wrote, not what I said.
Oh, well,
And sometimes vice versa.
I was like, are we forgetting 0 here?
Yeah, 8%. Still pretty good commission. I don't think my dad made that much. Some of the tractors were about that price, but then he would sell a combine, and combines are about the price of my house. So if he got 8% on that every combine sale, I wouldn't be working, but no. My inheritance didn't amount to much. I got some collector poker chips, so yeah, they're kind of cool.
Are you talking about John Deere?
My dad sold John Deere, and yes, I did get some John Deere poker chips and dominoes. Nothing, and I got this wonderful sweater. If Dad had made 8% commission, I think I could have not worked. No, but you got that. So then there's some examples I was going to do of a sale. On a sale, you take the percent and then do what?
You mean like a percentage off?
Yeah, I didn't explain myself very well.
Oh,
If the sale price, you take the original minus the discount. And you did some of those as a group. And I could do a couple more, but I think I'm ready to get you at the board trying some of these. So I'm going to hit stop. On Wednesday, it's our last day. I'm going to get everybody's attention. So, on on Wednesday, I want you to have 6-3 done. And I'm going to now show you how to do percent increase and decrease, so it'll be easier now that you've seen one and know the problems with it. And then we're going to do a practice final on Wednesday. Monday, there's no class because during finals week, you only have class on one of your two. Ours starts at noon, which is an even hour. So ours is the second day of the week. The ones that start at an odd hour are the first day of the week, if you want to know how that works. But we don't have class, and sometimes there's actually classes in your classroom, so you can't even really go to the classroom. I'll be in the learning center a little bit late because I'm giving another final in the morning. I want to give them time, but about 1 to 3. So I'm going in there extra for me. So I'm not going in there the whole class, though. So that you know. Our final's Wednesday. If you want to go outside of that final time, you need to talk to me, and we need to get it written down on a piece of paper, so over email or in person. Right about now, I start keeping track, and to be honest, I'm pretty free about moving it to one of my other classes if need be. So,
Shane,
yeah.
if you have a class that morning, chances are you'll be out of it in time to do yours.
You
I
should.
have a 10 o'clock class, so that's fine.
Yours should be 10 to noon.
Okay.
It should be your final. Now, in your case, you're probably going to be running a little late, and I want you to have lunch, so you should talk to me.
Okay, I'll probably get me and Tyler both.
Yeah.
But I asked them not.
So if we have, this is my first class, so I don't have to worry about that.
Not really.
Okay. My next class is up to 3.
So, other good. Similar, if you have a class right after this, I'm usually the more flexible teacher, so talk to me and we can move it a little either way. I just want it on paper.
Okay.
Others? Okay. All right, well, I kind of tricked you. You each had to do a percent increase or decrease problem. I didn't show you how to do those. On page 542, I'm going to read it and then write it down. On page 542, it says, and these are pretty good problems, that when you're trying to find a percent increase or decrease, you subtract the smaller from the larger, and then find what percent the amount of increase or decrease is of the original. So there's some subtraction, and then there's comparison to the original for increase, decrease. And we're actually going to do all 4 problems that were done at the board together. And so I'm going to write down the steps, though. So you'll get some of your homework done right now, by the way. Doesn't mean you shouldn't practice some of these. So group 2 is behind the board here. And group 2 was supposed to do number 35 in the homework this time. And number 35 in the homework said that after receiving a raise, the salary of a secretary increased from $300 to $345. What was the increase of her salary? So that was step 1. You took 345 minus 300 to get $45. That's a question we've been asking for quite a while. What's the increase? Here's the new question. By what percentage did her salary rate? Yeah. By what percentage did her salary increase? From the original formula that we've been using, I've been only doing proportions on these. The original formula that we're using on these You just got to add the idea that the denominator is the original, all right, and the total, the original, the complete, the whole part, because this group should have that 45 is to 300 as what we're looking for is to 100. Does that make sense? I wanted you to try one to get to the point that would be a little easier to understand. I'm going to do all four of them real quick. So, questions on that one? So let's try it. Does it seem reasonable that she had a 15% increase? And that's the answer. So I go 45 times 100 divided by 300 to get a 15% increase, which is what this group got. Okay. Let me show you how this group got that. Everybody have that written down? Everybody got it? Okay. This group went a different way. It's less easy to explain, but the way they did is they compared the 345 and the 300. They found 115%. If you go this route, an increase is how much above 100% you are, which in this case would be 15% above 100%. I look at it like an oil barrel. I find that way harder because when I get done I have to think through something. So I would rather subtract first and then compare them. But they got 15% just like I did. Questions? So they subtracted the original percent. Now new group ones here. Group 1 was asked to do number 25 in your homework. And number 25 in your homework says if shoe salesperson earns 12% commission on sales. Oh, that wasn't a percent increase though. Did you guys have any questions on? Oh, 33 is the one I don't look at. They also had to do 33. There we go. The number of members of a service club increased from 80 to 88. So the members in a club increased from 80 to 88 on number 33. And that's this group's right here. What was I recommending you do to begin it? And they did that. So, don't blame me, it's fine. I didn't teach you how to do this. We're looking for the percent. They were totally right in their numerator that their numerator should be 8. But I hadn't given them the little cheat thing that the denominator should be the original. And what's the original in this example? The original in this example is 80. And their answer actually means something. It's just not the way that we typically talk about percents. We usually talk about percents from the original or the beginning amount raising to the new amount. So you'll get 10% on this, I think, if you do it. Lisa?
No, I'm doing something.
Yeah, you're fine. Okay, so that one would be 10% if you multiply it out. If I'm doing that in my head right to get this done here in time. Okay, and then group number 4 did number 39. Yeah. And 39 says 36 of the 40 students completed the course. And we'll stick to the number that they're giving us here in the book. And believe me, you don't want to know the number of people that have disappeared in this class, which is too bad. But I think we started, you can do the math yourself, I think we started with 35 in this class.
Our writing went down to what, 9 pilots? Down to 9 in our writing?
Half of our goal here is to keep people coming.
This week, right? So you have to go out there and go through.
I would suck to like go through it almost all the way. It's
Yeah, one person in his class in particular took the money and ran. I don't recommend that for the future because they do chase you down. So it's right back there. They did an awesome job. They subtracted first, and then they compared the 4 to the original number in the class. So it was 4 to the 40. Is their problem or their answer that they got of 10% as well? Is their answer of 10% a 10% increase or a 10% decrease? Yeah, we saw a 10% decrease in the number of students. What were the other two examples that we just did?
They were,
They both went up. So it was salary going up, and it was members in a club going up. This one's a whole lot harder. If you try to do the 36 to 40 and use only those numbers and don't subtract them, and I can talk to a few of you that are thinking about it that way more, I highly recommend on the decrease problems subtracting first. All right. And so now let's look at the last one, which is number 37 here. So with the note that I highly recommend subtracting first, 30 minutes decrease to 24 minutes. After a new freeway was completed, commuter travel time to work decreased from 30 to 24. What percent decrease was it? I highly recommend subtracting it first. So 30 minus 24 is 6. And we take that 6 compared to the which number? Because 30 was the original. And you should get 20% when you type that in. And then you should say, it really is a good idea, and that I didn't on all of them. It's a good idea to say that it was a decrease. The commute decreased by 20%. And just as an out loud, if the compute decreased by 20%, you're still driving 80% of the time that you used to. So the decrease is how much it went down. And the 80% that a couple of people are getting on their calculators is part of the answer. 80% is the amount that you're driving. You'll deal with that issue a whole lot more if you go to 111. All right, if you don't, it's not too big a deal. But I draw the same picture all the time in 111. But you can ignore that if you will. And if you remember to subtract on the increase-decrease problems, you ignore all those problems. So